See the 4 footballs on the screen? All you have to do is pick one and stare directly at it. That's it. Don't let your eyes flicker to any of the other footballs. Are you focused on one? Good. Keep looking at it, because right about now, something strange should be happening. Are the other footballs fading? Have any of them disappeared completely? We promise you, we aren't altering the image in any way.
Because your brain decided that it wasn't in the world to begin with. Because the light-sensitive part of your eye is actually in the very back of the eyeball. It's up to your brain to figure out what stimulation is coming from the world and what's coming from inside your own eye. In this case, because the football stayed fixed in the same position and didn't play along with the rest of the motion, your brain decides that the football isn't in the world in the first place, and poof, it's gone.
It's not just your brain that can miss things when it's trying to be helpful. The structure of your eye can also lead you to see less than you think.
The fovea takes up less than 5% of the surface of your eye, but 50% of your brain's visual cortex is devoted to processing what the fovea delivers. This is why your fovea produces such a sharp, high-definition image. The other 95% of your eye, your peripheral vision, is very low resolution, like a cell phone camera from 1998.
In some ways, your brain works like the autocorrect feature on a smartphone. It makes a decision and runs with it, whether it's the right word or idea or concept or not. Take this next game, for example.
I need you to read this sign out loud. Right now. Go ahead, I'll wait.
Are we all in agreement that the sign says, New York in the spring? Read it aloud one more time. If you think that's what it says, then you're like almost everyone else we surveyed. Incorrect. Eyes don't focus on every single word when you read. Instead, you sweep across the page, sampling small chunks of text, leaving it up to your brain to make sense of these chunks.
A simple task like reading shows what your brain takes in, or in the case of the missing the, how much it tosses out, without you consciously noticing. In fact, your brain will try to provide you the least amount of information necessary to make sense of the world. What that means is that a lot of other information gets discarded.
The game board will look like this. In each box, there will be a word, and your job will be to say the position of the word in the box, either up, down, right, or left. So even if the word reads left, you say up when it's in the up position in the box. And if the word is in the down position, you say down. It doesn't matter what the actual word is. Got it? Now we're ready to play. This is a timed game, so as soon as the game board appears, I want you to complete the boxes as fast as you can. When you're finished, look at the timer to see how many seconds it took you. This first round should be pretty easy. Ready? Go. How did you do? That was a warm-up, because the words were where they're supposed to be. But now you're going to play again. And this round might be more difficult for you. Remember, don't read the word. Just say the word's position in the box. Ready? Go. How did your times compare? The second time took longer, right? This game is a version of a famous experiment called the Stroop test. And most people take longer on the second round because it challenges your brain in the same way lying does. For example, if the word left is positioned on the right side of the box, your brain has to hold on to two opposing ideas, right and left. And recent studies have confirmed this. We know from MRI imaging that the Stroop test and lying both activate the part of the brain that helps us decide between conflicting ideas. How does your brain do it? How can just 3.5 pounds of tissue measure something so abstract, so invisible as time?
It's all in how you look at it. Let's take another look at those blinking dots. Here they are, alternating, or so it would appear. Watch what happens when we remove the outer rings. I promise, we're not altering the image of the blinking dots at all. Just removing the rings around them. Weird, right? Alternating, together in time. Alternating, together in time. So, what's happening? On this illusion, your brain is getting mixed signals. Since each of the dots disappears when surrounded by its own color, and because that happens at different times on the right and left side, your brain gets tricked into seeing an alternating pattern rather than a synchronous one. Just by tweaking the shading on 2 circles, we caused your brain to mix up an extremely basic order of events and made you think the dots were blinking at different times. Okay, so here's the question. We held the photos of the kittens up on the screen for 1 second each. How much longer did we show you the photo of the javelina? Yeah, that's the freaky thing with the fangs. It's called the javelina. The photos of the javelina and the swimsuit models were on for exactly the same amount of time as all the other photos. 1 second. If you thought it was visible longer, don't feel bad. So did over 70% of our participants. So what causes your brain to play tricks on your perception of time?
We in neuroscience call this the oddball effect. We think that when something unusual happens, your brain devotes more neural resources to it. And as a result, it feels in retrospect like it took a longer period of time.
Nine dots game. Have you figured out how to connect the dots with just 4 straight lines? Here's a solution. Remember how we told you to think outside the box? And if you're really sharp, you may have solved the puzzle with only 3 lines. If you did, well done, because typically only 5% of individuals who try this puzzle are able to come up with any solution on the first try. If you didn't solve this one, that's okay. Your brain has an incredible ability to change. This capacity for development is called neuroplasticity, and it means that you're never stuck at a given mental fitness level. Does it look like a tomato sandwich? A ball on a shelf? It's up to you to think of as many ideas as you can for what this drawing represents. No matter how silly or simple you think your descriptions are, there are no wrong answers. Keep count of how many spring to mind. You have 5 seconds. Ready? Go. How many did you come up with?
Ooh, I think I know. Piece of sushi, 2 French fries and ketchup, maybe. A flashing light. Somebody that's really mad. Looks like an emergency button. Maybe it could also be 2 popcorn picker-uppers with popcorn that has been colored red.
Wow, these kids are coming up with some really fun ideas. Why are they so much better at this than adults?
Tiny dots.
These drawings are called droodles, and they're a pretty good benchmark for judging mental flexibility. Coming up with a range of ideas for the droodles requires your brain to quickly convert a few shapes into YU.
The Droodles test is a really good measure of divergent thinking because you have to look at an object that doesn't necessarily mean anything by itself, and you have to come up with lots of possibilities for that.
Imagine you can choose between two ice cream parlors. One only offers 3 flavors: chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry. The other has many. Which one would you walk into? You probably said the one with more options, happier with just 3 options. And the reason has to do with the surprising interaction of 2 distinct systems in your brain. Dr. Dalian Kane of the Yale School of Management is here to help unravel how you make decisions.
You might say that your brain uses 2 systems to make decisions. System 1 is automatic and unconscious.
It's what caused you to leap to a rapid conclusion in the orange kangaroo game.
System 2 is more deliberate and controlled. System 2 is probably what you associate with decision making.
And it's what you used in this test. Did you find it easy to make the first decision and walk into the store with more ice cream flavors, but then have difficulty with the second, choosing between so many options?
You probably chose the second store because you think more choices makes you happier. That's where you're wrong. More choices opens the door to regret. And as humans, we try to avoid pain just as much as we seek pleasure.
So when more and more options are piled onto a decision, like flavors of ice cream or thousands of television programs, your brain isn't just trying to figure out what you want. It's also trying to escape the feeling that you're missing out on something better. So you don't want to pick cookies and cream and regret not getting rum raisin, Rocky Road, or any of the others.
Psychologists call this the paradox of choice, and it's what can cause you to freeze up, unable to make a decision.
And it's just one of the ways decision-making can be trickier than you might have imagined.